Welcome back, everyone. A somber and historic moment for the Catholic Church as Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI is laid to rest in a ceremony led by his successor, Pope Francis.
So that service, it wrapped up just a short time ago, and I wanted you to take a look at this, which is a time-lapse video showing the thousands of mourners who were pouring into St. Peter's Square. This was earlier this morning ahead of paying their final respects to Pope Benedict. So among that crowd there, more than 100 cardinals, 400 bishops, and 4,000 priests in attendance. So this was truly a historic and unprecedented ceremony, a pope presiding over a former pope. And it was historic because that former pope retired.
Yes, joining us this morning to share some perspective and her personal experience of covering news at the Vatican is former CBS 3 anchor Pat Sharkey. Good morning, Pat.
Good morning to you. But you mentioned about 100 cardinals there. Instead of the worldwide College of Cardinals that would have come together at a pope's funeral, why? Because then they would have met in conclave to select the next pope. So that's why this is even more unprecedented with the way that everything played out. Starting on Monday, Pope Benedict's body was laying in state in the Basilica, and it's estimated that there were about 150,000 people who came by to pay their respects. You know, I was in St. Peter's Square when we said a goodbye, not a final farewell to Benedict, as what happened today. And the goodbye was when he resigned, and his helicopter lifted up from the Vatican gardens and kind of tipped its wings, if you will, around St. Peter's Basilica, and then off he went into retirement. And he announced his retirement February the 11th of 2013. It was February 28th.
And that was shocking to everyone because for centuries you'd never heard of a pope retiring.
No, it was 600 years. So what he wanted, he lived after his papacy ended. He lived a simple life. He lived in a monastery, but it was on the Vatican grounds, and Pope Francis would visit him every so often. So I think this was really emotional for Pope Francis today as he celebrated the funeral mass for his predecessor. Interestingly, then Cardinal Cardinal Ratzinger, who became the Pope, actually had celebrated the funeral mass for John Paul II. But here you see the papal gentlemen, as they're called. They had lifted his casket, and here, this moment of just one moment of silent prayer that Pope Francis offered to the man who became his friend.
But they're very different people.
Very different, yeah. But you know, Pope Francis has a kind of a warm and engaging personality that you can see from afar. Interestingly, with Benedict, you didn't see that from afar, but with speaking to individuals who were his friends, who are bishops from this area, who actually had been appointed bishops by Pope Benedict, they said he was as engaging and generous and kind in his manner, and he always would make individuals feel at home and feel comforted, which I thought was really a beautiful thing.
Now, Pope Francis, we saw him in that touching moment putting his hand on the coffin,
really
and you noticed he's looking frail. He was actually in a wheelchair and was assisted standing up for that moment. What do you foresee as the future for him?
Well, I think he actually has given us some indication. He said he believed that Pope Benedict opened the door by resigning, and he felt, and I think Francis feels, and I'm going to kind of extrapolate some of what it is that he has indicated, that if he feels that he can't continue in the way that he wants to continue to lead the worldwide Catholic Church, that he may consider resignation as well. Now, there's some indication that he had signed some type of resignation form already, but not to be activated. It was something in a drawer that was put away. But from what I understand, he would actually, somebody else could not resign or seek the resignation of Francis and order it, so to speak. Francis would have to do it himself. So, you know, just a couple of really lovely lines, I think, from Pope Francis today. He says, "Benedict, may your joy now be complete." And in his homily, he said, "God's faithful people gathered here now accompanies and entrusts to him the life of the one who was their pastor." And he said, "Together we say, Father, into your hands we commend his spirit." very beautiful, very traditional, actually, and
Very historic.
Historic. 60,000 people gathered there. Interestingly, for John Paul's funeral, 1.1 million. We're not in St. Peter's Square, about 500,000 in St. Peter's Square, and then another 600,000 in other places watching the funeral for John Paul II on big screens around Rome.
Pat, we appreciate you being with us this morning. You'll be with us a little later on, I believe, as well, so thank you so very much.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Pat.